Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, your resource for all things business, brand, and leadership. We are excited you have decided to join us today.
Hey guys, welcome to the Elevate Podcast. We are so excited. Episode number 23 is here. I am Robert Kalin here with
Mike Newman. Good to be back again today.
What's up, everybody? Tony Frasconi. Good to be with you. Episode 23. Let's do it. Let's dive in. We got some good content today.
Yeah, so good to have you guys on. Today, we are going to be talking about becoming a leader worth following, a person worth following. You guys, if you've joined us for any length of time, you know that leadership is a big piece of what we do here at the Elevate Podcast. And we want to dive a little bit deeper. You know, we've talked everything from not being a guru. We've talked about not having fans, but being a person that has followers. And now we want to go a little bit deeper with you guys. And so today's episode is just that.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if I'm a listener, I'm thinking that we've been on this journey, and I am a listener because I listen to, each one of our episodes several times when it airs every week, and I always pick up new nuggets from the two of you guys. So it's great. But as I think back to, how we started kind of this package of topics around, hey, we don't want a guru, and then what that means to we don't want to follow some guru. We don't want to be some guru we want to not have just fans, but we want to have followers. And now we're saying, okay, well, if we want to attract followers into the, get people to pick up what we're putting down, essentially, what kind of person do we need to be? What kind of leader do we need to be to attract the right kind of follower in the vein of leadership that we're in or that we believe in?
Yeah. Really, we focus on that servant leadership model, right? Where we lead from the bottom, we lead with service. And, when we talk about leadership, what we're really talking about is influence, that we have influence with people. And so what does it look like to influence people in a way that they want to emulate you. They want to do what you do. They see the value in showing up that way. And so, Mike, when you talked about this topic, I'm going to let you take it here. But when you talked about this topic, it just got me going because, as you know, I just wrote the book on generous influence, and super excited about this. So,
well, I think when you talk about, becoming a person worth following, it's about how you develop yourself. And what are you doing to develop yourself? And so each one of us, no matter where we're at in our stages of our careers, and wherever you are in your stage of your career, it's what are you doing to grow? Because I used to think that if I could achieve a certain position, I would have made it. And only to find out when I got there that there was another place that I wanted to go to and another place. And I remember I've told you guys this story maybe a few times before about when the principal tapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I wanted to be the department chair and said, no, I never thought about it. Well, he planted that seed and it continued to grow. And I realized that every time I got to where I wanted to be or thought I wanted to be, there was another step. And so when you become a person worth following, there's John Maxwell has what he calls the 5 levels of leadership. And so when I got that position, and position is the first level, that didn't mean people were going to follow me. It just meant that I had a position and I was recognized for, working hard. And, but that didn't really create any influence. And so what did I have to do? I had to build relationships to be able to create influence. And I think that's when we talk about becoming a person of influence, and being a person worth following, it's about how do you establish those relationships. So Maxwell has a couple of other levels inside of the 5 levels of leadership. First one's position. Second one is relationships. The third one is about production. It's about what are you doing for the people around you in the organization. And then that fourth one is about how do you develop the people around you? Are you becoming a people developer? And then the last one, which is where we should all strive to, but many of us don't ever really get there. And that's the pinnacle level of leadership, where people follow you just because of who you are. And so a person like John Maxwell is a person like that. A person like Tony Robbins is a person like that. The name brings with it credibility. And so, Tony, as you're looking at, people that you work with and the people that you're doing things in day out, how do you develop that being a person worth following? What's the things that you do?
Well, I think the mindset is key. Mindset for me means whatever I have with me now, I can't take with me to wherever I'm going. So what I want to do now is to leave a legacy, to invest in the things that I'm doing and the people that are around me, and the responsibilities that I do have to leave an impact if I'm not here tomorrow. And so I try to go with that mindset, because to me that helps me stay relevant. Let's take a human being out of this for a second. Let's talk about a brand, right? Brand business leadership. Hashtag like, subscribe, share. But the key thing, for me, when I think about like something like Taco Bell, okay, you got a brand like Taco Bell, restaurant Taco Bell. They serve the same thing in 20 different ways, and over the years, they figure out how to keep giving the customers what they like and what they want, but how to keep repackaging those same things to be relevant. Or Starbucks, of course, is another great example, right? They just came out with a new drink. I was over at their headquarters the other day. I was at a meeting. I was at their headquarters, and they had this beautiful just display room, Starbucks, just flagship store. And I go up there, and they're like, "Would you like our new drink?" And I said, "Well, what's the new drink?" They said, "It's the Oleato." I said, "Oleato? That's well, I'm Italian. I think that's olive oil." Yeah, we're putting olive oil in coffee, and you're gonna like it because it sounds cool. And so I ordered the Oleato and paid like $8. But so I don't know. I think I'm kind of going on a tangent, but really, it's when you have a mindset of service and you have a mindset of giving back and having that leadership style, and a mindset knowing that whatever you do, if it's solely for yourself, you're not going to take it. It can't come with you wherever you go, whatever height you go to. If you're standing on the mountain alone, what's the point? And so how do you stay relevant while you're doing that, while you're trying to continue to achieve? And to me, it's a mindset of service and relevancy and that responsibility that we have as leaders.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's definitely a mindset. And I think, as we grow as leaders and go through challenges and adversity and, good times and bad times, I mean, ultimately what's happening is it's developing our character, right? Our character is growing, and character is something you can't fake. It comes out when you're going through hard times. It comes out when you're going through good times. We've talked about this in the past about, character is kind of like tea. You put a tea in a cup, or you put tea in a cup, and what comes out when you put hot water in it, that's your character. So I see that one of the biggest things with leadership is growing and developing of that character, understanding that people are people, and they're going to disappoint you. They're going to let you down. They're not going to live up to expectations, just like you're not. And so how are you going to handle those things when they come up?
I think that there's sometimes we look at this in a way that if we were to ask ourselves, what are the qualities of a person that I follow? What would we come up with? Or we said, what's the qualities of a great leader? What would we come up with? And so we've talked about character, we've talked about influence, we've talked about credibility. But what does that look like in the day-to-day? And so one of the things that always comes to my mind is about trustworthiness. Is that leader somebody that I can trust? And so if we were to, since we're in this new format here, If we were to go around, just do a round robin thing here, Robert, what would be one of the things? So I said trust. What would be one of the qualities that you would have?
Yeah, trust is great. I would say integrity would probably be up there with me.
Tony?
So let me just make sure I get the question right. So it's a leadership trait that I think is important.
Right. Or of somebody that you respect or follow. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of a way to say this, because what comes to mind is like the grind, like the people that they do the little things every day that need to be done, and they don't take the shortcuts. They don't pay for the shortcut to buy the audience. They do the grind. And because of that grind, they have successful habits. And because those successful habits that are they're they've been tried through the test of time, we know these certain habits lead to success. And it's those type of that so I know it's kind of a long way to say it for me, but I think the consistency, the grind, those people are the people that I follow.
Somebody that's disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, I think that you're talking about the grind or the consistency over time. That's what makes you become who you are. And so many of us know the name Ed Milet. And I was listening to his podcast the other day, and he says, I want to tell you about the secrets of success. So the first thing I do every day is I make my bed when I get up.
Yep.
He goes, that's a discipline. And if you don't have discipline in your life, you can never be successful. And he says, so I start with that. And then he had a whole bunch of other things. And so, you can listen to Ed Milet's recent podcast. It's probably on there. But it was about how to be successful. But it was just the fact that he started out with what you're talking about, Tony, of doing consistently the same thing every single day. That you show up, that you're, dressed appropriately. It was funny. I had, way things happen in life. I had a similar conversation with a client of mine a while back about trying to set up what they expect out of their entry-level employees every single time. And so I'm asking them questions. And I said, well, do you expect them to come to work with their boots on? And he goes, yeah. And I said, are they laced up? Is that a requirement that you have, or is it just okay to have? Because I've watched guys come in with their work boots on, but they're not laced up. They're not ready to go yet. He goes, well, I want them ready to go. I said, well, then you got to be explicit about it. And so famous basketball coach, winningest basketball coach of all time, John Wooden, would say, every year we start with the basics, and I'm going to teach you how to put on your socks. And why was that? It wasn't because he wanted to humiliate him or anything. He didn't want him to get blisters during the practices.
That's John Wooden. Is he the 5 Ps guy? Like prior planning prevents poor performance?
Maybe so. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but you know what? Yeah. It makes me think, as we do things in our leadership, I feel like we can tend to go to this place of thinking that the work is really important. The project, the thing that we're trying to attain, maybe it's another position, a higher level, when the reality is it's really just the small things. It's the basics. It's showing up and doing the little things really well, and being consistent with it. It's caring about people. It's, valuing the people that are helping you get things done, right? And I love the thought that if we just focused on the basics, Vince Lombardi's another one, right? He would go into spring training with his football. He'd say, gentlemen, this is a football. He would take a Super Bowl winning team into spring training the following year and still treat them the exact same way. Hey, we're going to focus on the basics. Gentlemen, this is a football, right? And so how are we doing that to become the leader worth following?
Right.
Yeah, and I think...
Go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I think the leaders that do that well, that we might think take it to a next level, are ones that, they're doing these consistent things every day to achieve a level of success, and they still have more that they want to achieve, or they realize, hey, that old saying, like, if you're the smartest person in the room, get in a new room, right? Yeah. So they realize that, and they're constantly looking at, okay, what part of my game, if we're going to use a sports analogy, is still a little bit, maybe I've won some championships, but what part am I, where am I vulnerable or weak, or what could I still improve upon? What do I need to change about my game to be the best? Maybe it's not about winning, and it's not, maybe I want to be the best of all time at something. And maybe for me to be the best of all time, I need to, work on, I don't know, Tiger Woods, right? I need to change my swing in order to get to this next level. And when he went through that process of changing his swing at some point in his career, I remember he lost a lot of matches or tournaments, whatever you call them, in golf. But no, but he did that. He took the, step backward to grow, to then, but he dug deeper into this next level of these habits and awareness of where you still can grow. And the only way you can have that awareness is if you're doing those habits every day,
And that's where it's at, right? It's in, how do you become the best you that you can be? What do you need to be focused on right now in order to become that person?
Well, as we wrap up the episode today, I think we, give you guys a shot for one more comment about becoming a person worth following. And I'll start with, it starts with you. You have to sit down and reflect about, what is it that I'm doing consistently over time is worth following. And so if I'm watching Netflix every single night and on weekends, and I'm not growing myself by reading or listening or whatever it is that I'm doing to get better, I'm not going to be a person worth following.
I like it, Mike. That's good stuff. I think for me, it's it's being authentic, to my call and what I'm about. So for me, if you've listened to our podcast from the very beginning, kind of, we started out with the heart series, right? I'm all about heart-centered leadership and showing up to lead with heart and unpacking what that means. And so people that I attract, I want them to know, when they hear me speak, when they see me put out content, whatever it is, it's about showing up to lead with heart in life and at work and as a parent, whatever it is. And they know when they come to Tony, that's what they're going to get. Now, the second part of that is I want to be somebody that's relevant. So if I'm always saying the exact same thing about leading with heart, it might lose relevancy. I mean, think about like an old website you go to, right? If the website is always the same, it's not freshly updated with new content and things, we get bored. And I don't think that's being a good leader, and that goes back to that Taco Bell example, that and that Starbucks example of like, hey, we know the expectation we have of Taco Bell and Starbucks, but they continue to try to be relevant to a new day.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
That's good. I would probably say simplicity. Mike, to kind of take what you were saying about reflection, how do you reflect on all of the things that you want to see out of your leadership and simplify it in the most basic terms and then do that? Right? At Elements, our purpose is to love people well, plain and simple. And we do that every single day, day in and day out. And we just focus on that one thing because we want to love people well. And so what are you doing to simplify your leadership?
And for those of you that don't know, Elements is actually a frozen yogurt place, and they also serve coffee and breakfast items and those things. So it's a place where you can go and get that and experience the culture that Robert's created there, and that's why he's a person worth following.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, Puyallup, Washington, Elements Coffee Shop. If you're tuning in from Mexico, you know right where to find you.
Mexico, Australia, South Africa, Canada, Russia, Norway, no matter where you are. Appreciate you guys listening. I'm excited to see your leadership journey. So make sure you're commenting and engaging with us. We want to hear from you. And we are excited for the next episode as well.
Hey, I'm also excited because of this new platform. We're going to be able to, we've got several connections and friends and successful entrepreneurs that have wanted to, participate with us. We've been trying to find out the best way to do that. So we're going to be able to have some great guests on here. We've had some great guests, but we're going to be able to expand our reach, stay relevant right here for all things business brand leadership. Elevate Podcast. Out.
See you guys.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for joining us today on the Elevate Podcast, your resource for all things business, brand, and leadership. For a deeper dive into the content and to get access to resources like our free show notes, go to countercultureleaders.com/podcast and sign up for our newsletter. Hey, don't forget to like, rate, and review and subscribe, and share this content with your friends and colleagues. This is Mike Newman. Looking forward to seeing you next week.